I miss the old Tomas. Does triple front Tomas. Tramp with the jump Tomas. Look like a stump Tomas. I hate the new Tomas. Goes in on hands Tomas. Got lots of fans Tomas. Spaz with the plan Tomas. I miss the sweet Tomas. Toes with the feet Tomas. I gotta say, at that time I'd like to meet Tomas. See, I stunned Tomas. It was the twisting Tomas. And now I look around to all the girls thirsting Tomas. I used to love Tomas. I even had the black Speedo. I thought I was Tomas. What is Domus made a song about Tomas called I Miss the Old Tomas. Man, that would be so Tomas. That's what it was, Tomas. We still love Tomas. And I love you like Tomas loves Tomas.
Hey, what is up, guys? Welcome back to Organic Matters. This is our 4th episode. And Dom, what was that?
So, story time. So I watched this YouTuber called Ludwig, and he made a parody of I Love Kanye about Mango. He's a Smash Melee player who's one of the best of all time.
Super Smash Brothers?
Yeah, Super Smash Brothers Melee player, but one of the best of all time. And so then I thought about, we were at diving, and I realized how Tomas, his first year of diving, would always go in on his feet, and he would always do doubles.
Like, I would do a double front flip instead of, today I would do a front 2.5.
So, and then he did triple his sophomore year. And then one day he's like, dude, I finally got my whole list, which is the dives you do, to 1.5. And I'm like, and I was still stuck over here doing doubles. And I was like, man, I miss the old Tomas. And then I was like, straight from the triple Tomas. And then last night, before the pod, I'm like, I should write, I love Tomas. And do it for the podcast. And see his reaction.
See his dedication, guys. He used his creative brain to create something.
Yeah. So we could go into a little bit about some of the lyrics.
Yeah. Give me the most interesting line from that song that you created.
So probably one of my favorites was "Look Like a Stump, Tomas," because you
a stump.
A stump.
Like a tree stump.
Yeah, and tree stumps are kind of thick and kind of fat. Because you used to be a little fat. You definitely weren't as skinny as you are now. So look like a plump Tomas. And then also, I hate the new Tomas. Spaz with a plan Tomas. It's because you make up plans out of nowhere. And I'm not ready for them. And you don't tell me them until I'm already at the place. And you're like, all right, so here's the plan. And I'm like, I thought the plan was to do this. Kind of like how...
I feel like they come from somewhere.
Okay, but you just don't tell me them, and then you just make up a plan, and it's kind of spazzy.
I think most of the time I tell you them.
Well, one time...
I'd say at least 80% of the time I tell you the plans before they happen.
Yeah, but recently, you have not been. So that's why I wrote spaz with the plan. Kind of like how... So last podcast... Was it last podcast? Or is it... I think it was the second episode. We talked about... No, it was...
What did we talk about?
One of the podcasts, we talked about our biggest icks.
Oh.
And one of mine was that you can never take no for an answer. And then, like, a couple days later, you're like, all right, dude, here's the plan. You're sleeping over, and then we're doing all this.
Well, actually, you came over so that you could, like...
Yeah.
What were you doing at my house?
My plan, I said, yo, dude, I'm going to come over for 15 minutes, get the podcast onto my hard drive so I can edit it.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're like, yeah, bet. So then I get there.
We were totally vibing at this point, like, once he's here.
And then you're like, all right, dude, so you're going to sleep over? And I'm like, dude, I really can't sleep over. So
like, but like, we're here, and we're vibing, and you don't got anything else in the morning, so I'm thinking you just stay the night. I mean, it's no harm. It's no harm. Like, we're already here.
But I was, like, so tired, and I was like, my bed is just so much better, and I was just like, my home... feels better. I don't want to stay the night. And I kept telling you that. And then...
Dominick does have a very homey house. His mom always makes my bed whenever I sleep over. And it's crazy. I'm 17. I could make my own bed. Like, you could give me bedding. I could make it for myself. But Mom Pom's always like, here's a bed. I'm like, thanks.
But he decides... He's like, all right, 1 second. Picks up the phone. Calls my mom. She doesn't answer, because she doesn't answer her phone all the time. And he leaves a message. And the message is like, hey, Mom Pom, I was just wondering if like if Dominick was like hypothetically could spend the night, and then I'm in the background like, Mom, I don't want to stay the night. He's forcing me.
I wish we had the voicemail to show you guys.
And he's like, don't worry about what Dom's saying. But you should. So can he stay the night? That'd be great. All right, see you, Mom. And I'm like, I don't want to stay the night. And then he hangs up. And then I get a text from my mom later that says, what the heck was that message about? I'm like, Tomas really wants me to stay tonight, but I really don't want to. Because you just couldn't take no for an answer. But I thought that was funny. How you just couldn't take no for an answer.
Well, you know, it was still a pretty productive night, because during that night, after that whole phone call voicemail thing, that was like, you know, it probably should have happened. Like, probably should have slept over. Could have came up with more topics. But we actually came up with some topics to talk about on the podcast. We did 30 minutes of just straight think and write down anything that you can think of to talk about on the podcast. So we basically now have infinite topics to talk about. So
I wouldn't say infinite topics.
I'd say, you know, like in math, right? When x is like less than or equal to infinity.
Sure.
Well, right now we're in like inequality, so it's more like x is greater than 0, and then it's like equal to 2 or 20, and then it's like greater than or equal to infinity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I think we could start with, so we talked about how you would always do triples, but then you switched to going in everything on hands. I like to talk about how, so during dive season, it always starts out like, I'm so hyped for dive season, bro. I'm going to learn so many new dives. I'm going to do so well. This is my year. I thought that sophomore year and like after like the first week of freshman year.
We progressively learned that wasn't the case.
And then there's that one point of the season where I just begin not to like diving.
You just plateau.
It's not that I plateau. It's just my least favorite thing about diving is going for a new dive, especially ones, just really any new dive actually. You just have the innate ability to just throw dives.
Yes and no. I know that I'm gonna get hurt anytime I learn a new dive, because it always starts bad. Even easy dives, like today during practice, I was just doing I was in a tuck position on the 3-meter springboard, and I just had do a little bounce in the tuck position and kick up, and I had never done that before, and I like straight up landed on my back. Like, even though it was an easy thing, it was still difficult for me to do for the first time. After like 3 times though, I was hitting it perfectly. It just takes a couple to do, and then your brain starts understanding the motion of the dive, and you can throw it easier.
But my thing is diving is so mental, and your mental, I think, is just stronger than mine, because I can't, after I throw a dive, and let's say I smack, my brain just goes, you're not doing that again. So then it's like it's worse mental block than doing it the first time is doing it the second time. That's why every time I try to do back 1.5, like, which is what it sounds like, you do a 1 backflip, and then you go on your hands. It's just so hard because I've trained myself not to land on my head through trampoline, and then, so I train myself not to do that through trampoline, and then I have to do that into the water, and I'm just disoriented, and then every time I fail, then my brain's like, you cannot do that again. And then I get frustrated with myself, and it's just so frustrating how I just can't commit to any dive, and then I see you doing all these dives, and I'm just like, I've got hurt. It doesn't even hurt that bad, but my brain just shuts off. And so every time I try to do a new dive, I start shaking, and I get frustrated.
Yeah, you do start shaking.
And then I can't get over it.
The thing when I smack a new dive, my brain does do the initial, nope, don't do that. We're done with that. But I just overcome that. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna do it again, and I'm probably gonna get hurt again. And even if I smack a second, third, fourth time, I just keep going, and it hurts. But then eventually, since I've smacked so many times, the pain tolerance gets easier to like take care of the new dive. And That's why I'm able to smack straight flat on my back and stomach on 3 meter now, and not like really make like a face or like start crying. Or I never cried after a dive, but like start like whining after a dive. I just get out of the water and I'm like, ow, that hurt a lot.
It's just going backwards, dude. I'm just so bad at going backwards.
I'm loathing the moment where I have to do backs again on 3 meter for my new club.
Why? Because
I'm gonna have to do back 2.5.
Dave's gonna be like, all right, back 2.5 time. Bob, same thing.
Bob's my coach. Shout out Bob. Great coach.
But yeah, that's one thing I don't like about diving. And then also is, for some reason, I feel like since you're so good, that when I go next, even if like I feel like I do just as good of a dive, I get scored lower. Might be because I'm not as confident, even though I think I'm confident. It might be because I'm short and I look weird. My form might be not as good, but it's just, I feel like judges don't like me.
Judging in diving is very difficult because it's so subjective. So let's just get into diving, like get into the sport of diving for a minute here. So when you do a dive, it has a degree of difficulty. Let's say it ranges from 1 to 4. And in between that, there's a bunch of decimals like 2.5, 2.8, 3.1. Most of the high school dives are in between 1 and 2.6, maybe a 3.0. That's like a really good diver's doing a 3.0. And if a judge sees someone do a 3.0 dive, it automatically puts that stigma into their brain that, oh, this is a good diver, I'm going to give him better points because he's doing the better dives. Because you're going to have better form in order to perform the better dives. Kind of. Because if you're like us...
Like, sometimes if you're throwing like a 3.5 and then your form's kind of dookie and you don't kick out all the way, the divers will be like, he also didn't come out at all and went in the ball. So,
it does even out, but you still have to have that same takeoff, aerial awareness to be able to do the dive. If you're doing a 1.2, you're going to be worse than if you're doing a 3.0 as an optional. Tom, I've been so self-conscious about my podcasting this whole week.
Then don't.
I'm so in my head right now.
That's what messing you up.
I don't know how to get out.
Okay, ready? It's not that hard. We're just talking to a camera and a microphone. We don't even know who's going to listen to this, all right? I might even keep this into the podcast. It'd be funny to keep it in about how you can't podcast right now.
I think you're right. I think that's a good idea.
You just need to relax, dude. Because I think you're practicing too much. You might be practicing too much for the podcast. It's supposed to be...
I think I'm thinking about it too much.
It's supposed to be relaxing. It's supposed to be organic. You're turning it into, like, robotic in how I have to be perfect podcast form. And I have to enunciate every word and talk slow, but also not say anything. But that's just how a human works. We're not perfect, all right? We say like, because we can't think at 100 miles a minute and say every word that comes out of our mouth, or else you'd be just insane. And you see how I just said the and the because I didn't think before I said. I was just saying stuff. And that's what the podcast is really about, dude. It's about saying whatever you think about on your mind and about just being a person. We are not robots. We are not half cyborg.
Oh, shoot!
We are humans, dude. We mess up. That's the point, dude.
Thanks, Tom.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Just pick up a different topic.
That was good. Thank you, actually, for that, because I think I have been thinking about the podcast way too much. I think it's consumed my whole life for the past 3 weeks.
I definitely think it's consumed your life for the past 3 weeks, because I looked at our text messages, and every single thing is about podcast topics. Dude, you should write that down. Dude, listen to this for the podcast. Dude, have you done the thumbnail for the podcast? Dude, I'm working on it, all right? Dude, you're supposed to come over and do a podcast tonight. dude, I really can't right now, dude. I got homework, bro. And it's just all podcast.
It is, yeah.
And I'm sure that people coming up to you in school and saying, bro, I listened to your podcast, dude. It was sick, dude. I'm telling you, that's like it.
How many people have done that to you?
Oh, dude, I told you about this, but this was crazy. Some guy, I don't know who this guy is, all right? I'm walking to my car, and he's like, hey. I was like walking. I kept walking. It's like, hey, dude. Kept walking. I'm like, is this guy talking to me? And then he's like, dude. And then I turn around. I'm like, hey, dude, what's up? He's like, have I seen your face on a podcast?
No.
and I was thinking, this is so weird.
This is not happening.
I was like, this is not what famous people feel like. But is it though? You know,
it must be like, I mean, the start of being famous.
I mean,
like when people first start recognizing you.
You know, I've like,
but we're not famous at all. Like, we're just starting the podcast. Like, it was only 200 views on the first episode. So we're school famous.
We're kind of like when you see, like, let's say you see like a famous person, and you don't know it's them or not, and you're like, you give them the look, like is that?
How many famous people have you seen?
Be. This is what I've heard from famous people talking about their fan interactions.
Oh, gotcha.
I felt kind of like that, and I was the famous person in the situation. I'm like, there's no way he recognizes me, but doesn't actually know me. And he goes, have I seen your face on a podcast recently? And I'm like, yeah, that's probably me. Yeah. And he goes, oh, dude, that's sick. I have a podcast myself. I'm like, what the heck? When is everyone getting podcasts now?
Yeah.
And he goes,
high schoolers just have podcasts?
And he's talking to me about it. He's like, oh, what's it about? And I tell him, like, oh, we just talk about stuff. We vibe current topics. And I just thought the interaction was so insane. Someone who I've never talked to goes, I heard about your podcast. And that's so weird. Like, I thought it was so weird.
I mean, I've been trying to market the podcast as much as possible. I've been talking to anybody and everybody about it. And trying to post on Instagram as consistently as possible in order to get people to check it out. So yeah, I mean, I guess something's working.
I thought it was so weird, and I forgot to ask him what his podcast was, but I told him, yeah, dude, go check out Organic Matters. That's a sick podcast, dude. I'm telling you, definitely check it out. It's on
anywhere: Spotify, Google Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, yeah, YouTube.
I literally went down the list. I was like, anywhere you can find podcast, it's on there. I thought it was so weird. I don't know how. I just don't understand. That means he must have looked at his phone, saw something about a podcast,
seen your face,
connected the dots, and goes, "That's a podcast, man." I don't know, dude. Like, that just happened.
It's crazy that he didn't even know the know the name of the podcast. That we just like, did I see you on a podcast?
That's so weird. I felt kind of embarrassed. I was like, what if this is not? What if I'm the wrong guy? What if there's another guy with a podcast?
What if there's another podcast?
Yeah, dude. I talk about embarrassing stuff a lot on the podcast. I talked about that. I talked about the first time getting a play day. I've had a lot of embarrassing moments, actually. You're a musician, right? Like, would you consider yourself a musician?
I mean, not really. I just sing. Like, I used to play saxophone, but I play guitar a little bit now. I like writing things. I like writing songs. I like writing.
Have you ever had like a performance, like a legit performance?
Yeah, a couple times.
Have you ever done a solo? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah. There was just one time actually in like 7th grade, or it was 6th grade, that we were singing like a Tarzan song for choir. It was like, oh wait, no, it was George of the Jungle. It was like, George of the Jungle, watch out for that tree. And then I was the guy who did the solo part, and I was going like, but it was better than that because in 6th grade, I just had the best Tarzan voice, apparently.
I guess, dude.
Yeah, I had that. I also had
Was it embarrassing when you sang the Tarzan?
Nah, I was pretty confident with it, and everyone like laughed, and it was awesome. Like it was pretty.
Have
pretty
you?
Good.
A couple times, I've had just the worst performances because I play the violin,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't like practicing that much unless I'm into the song. And I followed this program that I was in. I went to like a violin school like every Monday, and I would play with them. And I like the violin, but the music I playing, I was like forced to play kind of. And there's one song. It's Baccarini.
Baccarini.
It's I don't know like the actual title,
Sessi
but
Baccarini.
it's called Baccarini, and it's a song that goes do 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 do.
Oh, I know that song.
So I had to play that song. I think I was in third grade.
Is that the song
second
in
grade.
Legend of Zelda where you're like in a shooting range?
No, that's a different song. No, different
Wait,
song.
no, do it again.
It's a do 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 do.
It is 100%. It's 100%
It's a
the
different
song in
song.
it's 100% the song in Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time when you're shooting an air or no when you're at the bomb chew.
Dude, I know what
arena.
you're talking about, and it's not that song, bro. I'm telling you, no way. What's his name? What's the Zelda writer?
Odo? No.
But he wrote every song. He did not copy Baccarini, bro. I'm just saying.
Dude, maybe he just used Baccarini. Maybe he wrote it.
It's like the famous. What's it called?
Mozart?
No.
Elise?
It's like a snippet of music that's super recognizable.
An illusion?
A motif.
A motif?
It's just a musical motif then.
I guess so.
Like the da 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 da. That's a famous.
Yeah.
And then the do 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 do. That must be a so. But I had to play Baccarini for a concert, and leading up to the concert, I didn't practice. I only practiced at my lesson and on Mondays. Concert comes. The worst part is it's not just a solo, it's a duet with my brother. He's way better than me.
Yeah.
But he had to play with me. And we practiced maybe like once together.
Oh man.
So I go up
How long was the solo? Or the duet?
The whole song. I don't know. I go up to play. I'm getting ready. I'm like, I'm not ready for this.
How many people were in the audience?
I was at a church.
Okay.
No, I was at a home. Not a home. Old people go there.
At least it wasn't in front of like your friends.
But it was for Mother's Day. It was in front of a bunch of people at the school's mom and a bunch of old people who are at the nursing home. It was at a nursing home, and it was in like the chapel of like a church. Mm-hmm. So I'm ready. I'm like, this is gonna be so bad. I'm getting embarrassed just thinking, reliving the moment. The first note.
Oh,
I squeak on the first note.
Gosh.
But then I don't continue playing. I replay the note. So it's like, and the whole thing is like that. I remember I like would play double notes that weren't there. There's like a part where it's like a scale down. I'm like, do 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 do. And my brother, the duet's like do 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 do.
He was like perfect.
And then my brother's like, do 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 do, and it was just so bad.
What was the interaction like afterwards with you and your brother?
Nothing, because my brother had to play his own solo, and he killed it. Like, absolutely killed it. And then...
Good job, Derek.
And then they talk... I, like, go to my parents, and they're like, that was the worst performance you've ever had in your entire life. I was like, yeah, I know, okay? It was embarrassing for me, too. And I just sat there, and I had to take it, and I was just like, this is not happening again. But then... I've never had, like, a clean violin performance. I swear. It's always bad. There's another one I was playing. It's called Bach Double. It's a duet. I was playing with Derek again. Mm-hmm. And the whole song, I'm doing fine. I'm killing it. I'm killing it. It's like da 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 da. And then Derek hops in. He does the same thing in like high octave, and it's going sick until the very end.
Does he play violin too?
Yes, he played the violin and then switched to viola, but he was playing. We were killing it, and then I get to like a hard shift and I mess it up. And then Derek's supposed to be playing a note, and he's off. So then he just holds a note for way longer just to get it back. It's like, we like play, and he just goes, he like stops, because I stopped, and he's like, screw. He just holds it for so long.
Did it save it?
And it kind of saved it, and we ended together. And then Derek was like, after, he's like, yeah, I didn't know what to do, because you just stopped playing. So then I decided to just hold the note. And then, oh my god. Dude, I stopped playing at a state level performance, and I was violin 1, and my whole ensemble was like, why'd you stop
What'd you
playing?
score?
I got a silver instead of a gold. We were a couple points off from a gold, and they're like, dude, why would you? I'm like, guys, I'm sorry.
Hey, I ran into a door at school the other day. We were reading a book in the middle class. It was like silent except for the teacher was reading the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, may I use the restroom? And so the doors at school, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can like press them a little bit and then like push them open. You don't have to like pull them all, turn them all the way. So
you would try to open it.
I just tried to open it like really quick, and I usually like use my arm, like my shoulder and my like body to open the door.
Did you get embarrassed?
Yeah, that was where I was going with this.
And you were just like,
I hit the doorknob and I just like straight up rammed into the door, and then everyone looked, and I opened the door to like get out, and I literally ran. I ran out of the door. I like turned out so that I could get out there as soon as possible. I ran to the bathroom and just went into the stall, and I started like screaming to when you're like younger and you get in trouble and like you're grounded and you're so pissed off at your parents that you almost slam the door and then you shut it, and then you start screaming in your head, but you're like
and
you're just like throwing pillows everywhere,
and you're like screaming to your pillow, and you're like, you know what, I'm packing away, and
I'm packing a bag.
You grab a bag and pack like one toy, and you're like, I'm out of this, I gotta go. And then you walk away.
That's kind of how it was in the stall. Oh. and then when I walked back in, just like, hey, so hey guys, and then I talked to my friend in the class. I'm like, I just ran into the door.
Dude, speaking of school, it's been on my For You page back on TikTok. Always recent with TikTok.
Yeah.
TikTok trends. Recently on TikTok, are you on TikTok?
Yeah.
So
I'm on TikTok.
Just making sure. Have you seen this absolute Devious Lick?
Yeah, people are stealing crap from schools.
I saw one where it's like, I got this absolute Devious Lick, and he pops his trunk, and it's a stall from school.
Like a stall door?
No, like not a stall, a urinal, like a full-on urinal.
I saw one where the like there were 2 stalls, and he opens up one stall, and the like divider of both stalls is gone, and he's like, you guys have gone way too far with this trend.
Oh, I saw one where the guy goes into a stall, and there's a guy in the other stall, and he just takes the guy's shoe and runs while he's in the stall. And I saw one where...
Have you seen the one where he, like, some guy just jumps up, tries to grab an exit sign,
yeah, and then
the whole thing falls off, and he doesn't even get it?
Yeah. Dude, today at school, I saw someone... we were, like, filming him, and he like, opened his bag, and there's, like, a traffic cone, and he tried to steal it.
Wait, at school today?
Yeah, and then he couldn't fit. And then later, he, like, grabbed a trash can and walked away with it and, like, put it somewhere else. And then I saw another one today. It was on someone's story and was, like, absolute devious. Like, he's, like, in school. He opens his bag, and it's, like, a box fan. And then I saw another one. This guy's on the bus, and he's got a picture of, like, the chem, like, stethoscope where, like, you look at things, he's, like, absolute devious. Like,
how have we seen so many of these and just able to remember all of them?
I'm like, how do you steal, like, how did the teacher just not see you put, like, take out the plug of the stethoscope and just put it, it's not a stethoscope.
The
microscope.
Microscope, yeah.
It's, like, heavy, just puts in his bag and just, how do you, like, what? How does that even happen?
I saw someone who had a full PC. From the school.
Like, how do
you get these?
How do you steal? How do you...
I mean, I'm sure we're smart. We could come up with a plan.
We could definitely...
But we're definitely not going to. Like, that's so stupid.
Dude, I imagine myself, like, going into the bathroom and then taking off the soap. Like, the soap thing. Because I saw that on TikTok, too.
I think what I'd do is I'd just, like, put my hand under the soap and then just, like, put it in my bag.
I'm talking about, like, the whole soap dispenser just going...
I know, I'm just talking about a squirt. The most devious lick at school today.
What does lick mean?
Apparently it's something you steal.
Like, why lick, though? Let's try and...
Lick. I mean, when you lick... Like, you're licking, and, like, when you take it. Like, you lick, it sticks. And then you take it.
Well, maybe let's think about stealing...
and you put your tongue on a letter and it's sticky, and then you stick it to the letter, and then it stays together, like those parts. And then once you take the part, that's a lick.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, I was thinking about this. So, stealing. Steal.
Is wrong.
Stealing. Steal. Like steel bars. Now what?
Steel bars.
Now what do you make out of steel? Cars. Now let's say
Bars.
it's a summer night and then you go to a drive-in theater in your car. What do you eat? Ice cream. Now what can ice cream come in? An ice cream bar. How do you eat those? You
Lick
it. So basically, that's how I got licked.
Basically, it's like the steel pole in A Christmas Story that the kid licks.
Practical. That's it, dude. And like how, or it's because you steal bars, and then a bar you put it in like a Jello cup, and then hold on, you can't use the bar steel to eat the Jello cup, so you just with the tongue and you lick the Jello out. Also, Jello's gross. I think Jello's gross.
You know how we're like going deeper into the meaning of this word? So today, during that same class that I ran into a door, English, I was explaining a situation that was happening in our book. And so there's this guy, right? He's a soldier, and he's like scared of everything, and he keeps weed on him, and he keeps tranquilizers on him because he's like scared of everything. Wants to like take off the edge,
and then
right?
Also if someone runs up and he goes, bah! And
Exactly. And he always stays strapped, right? He had a grenade launcher on him, and he had like 36 pounds of grenades on him when he died, right? He wasn't even able to use the ammunition. And so my teacher's like, how would you tell a person's parents that they died on battlefield? Would you say, your son has died? Or would you give him a deeper explanation? What I said on how I would tell the person's parents is that I would fornicate the idea of him having grenades on him and him dying to create a story that would explain his death. And everyone in the class got like angry at me for using the word fornication.
Why?
Because the word to fornicate means to have sex without marriage.
No, that's not the only meaning.
Everyone got angry at me, and I had to defend myself. So I'm like, think about this, all right? A man and a woman, they have sex and have a baby, right? An idea with another idea, have sex, has a story. And then at the end, I'm like, okay, fine. I understand where you're coming from. The word fornicate, it's 60% right in this context.
It's right. You're not wrong for using the word fornicate. I don't know what else to say about that. Like, you just weren't wrong for saying the word fornicate.
There's this one kid who was like trying to argue with me for like 5 minutes. I'm like, dude, I like Super Smash Bros. And we play it all the time, and it's so fun.
Smash Bros. I think Smash Bros. Is a great game. It's been first time I played Smash Bros. This is just gonna be a weird transition for everyone listening to podcasts.
Yeah, very, very.
But Smash Bros. But Smash Bros. So first time I played Smash Bros. Was at my friend's house, and I was very young. I must have been second grade probably, or third grade. And I've never played the game before, and everyone was so good, and I felt bad because I sucked, and I was like, wow, this isn't fun because I suck.
I can relate to that feeling.
But then I was like, this game is actually really fun. So I started getting better. And then
you got inspired by being bad so that you could get better.
I bought the game myself. And then
which one was it?
This was Brawl, because this was in
Super Smash Brothers Brawl.
This was in 2011
on the
12.
Wii.
Yeah. So I'm playing Brawl and I'm getting better. And then eventually I can compete with them. And I'm having fun. And then I noticed that there was another Smash game. Older ones. So then I played 64. I played Smash 64, the first one, so much. It was so much fun. I'd play against level 9 CPUs for hours and only use
Hours?
NES, and I would down air and just keep down airing, and it had so much fun, and then I go back to Brawl, and then I play through Brawl, and then I'm starting to beat my friends at this point. I'm like actually beating them, and they're like, "Tom, you're getting pretty good." And then one day on YouTube, I find this game. It's Smash Bros, but they're moving super fast, and they're doing these weird movements.
Oh,
And
Project M.
And then they're no
Oh.
Melee. This is the first time I found competitive Melee.
Oh.
I was like, this game looks so and then I just watched it because they were so good. I saw them doing like 0 to deaths, and I was just like, wow.
0 to deaths is like when you take out someone without taking any damage.
I was like, wow, this game looks so much fun.
Dude, I can so relate to being like not having fun because I'm doing bad because you beat me all the time.
We're getting to how I got. So then, this is why I got good. Is because I was like, wow, these guys are really good. So then I found a copy of Melee on eBay. I bought it. I had to get a GameCube SD card, and then I played through Melee, and I unlocked all the characters, and I had so much fun. And then I like saw someone play Falco and just use down air a lot, and I'm like, I need to do that. So I used Falco, and he was my main when I first started playing Melee, and I would just do like dash attack down air the whole time, and it always worked. And then my friend also had Melee because his brothers were like a little older, so then we started playing Melee at his house, and I'd beat them. And then I started watching real competitive Melee. I started watching like commentators, and then I learned how to read your opponent and how not just do your own game plan and play like a robot, is to like react to how people are playing and read their movement options. And as you play them more and more, you start to learn their habits, and then you can exploit their habits. And then at that moment, I think I fell in love with Smash Bros. Because my friends, they're always like, dude, I can't beat you. It's because you play Sonic and press the B button over and over and over again, and then it just doesn't work because I know you're gonna press the B button, and then they're like, oh dude, how come you always come in when you're off the edge? Because you always recover high or you always recover low, and you just pick up on these habits, and then when you do something cool and like you actually read them, they're like, how did you know that? And you're like, that felt cool. That felt so cool. And then after I learned that, I started learning combos. And so then you gotta learn your basic combos. And then once you know your character so well, you can make your own combos on the fly. And then you start reading people. And that's when you really have fun playing Smash Bros. In my opinion.
Something that you can never read is the down B with young Link.
Down B? You mean down air?
Yeah, down air. You know.
With your air with A.
Down O.
You mean the one you do every single time?
Pretty sure it's down B, Dom.
Down B is a bomb.
It's down in. See, so like the reason why I'm like losing sometimes is probably like this type of disconnect between the knowledge of Super Smash Brothers and between us.
Well, okay, you
have a bunch of more hours in it than I do.
But also, I really should be punishing you every single time you do that. It's just because I think my option will outrange it, but for some reason that hitbox, it just never works. And you see how
I love when I hit it though. It's so fun to hit.
And
that
then you
move.
see how when I started playing Seth Roth, that was so long. You do it every single time, and eventually I just start going under the platform because it never works, and then I just run away from it, and then yeah. But you start picking up on habits like that, and then I would bring it into like real life. My Smash knowledge, I'd bring into real life.
How?
Because I play soccer, so I used to play forward, which is the one that scores all the goals, and they always get all the attention. But what people don't think about is the mind games that goes behind playing defense.
I know what you're talking about.
So then I started playing defense, and after you go up a forward, because you go up against basically the same forward the whole match, and eventually you start picking up on their habits. And most people, at least at our level, have this one habit that I always picked up on is, let's say we're both running and I'm a little faster, and then I start to cut you off. Instead of keep going, 9 times out of 10, they cut back. So to cover that option, what I would do is when I stop myself, I drag my left foot or whatever foot so that if they cut back, I'd hit the ball. And then Also, if you play someone so much, then you get to know like, oh, he likes to do step overs and then go to his right foot. And so I like would read people, and that's why I think I'm such a great defender. But I can't play anymore, which sucks. But I like bring my Smash knowledge into like soccer.
I know what you're saying because the little amount of time I've played soccer like against people, I've been pretty good at like getting the ball from them by like reading what their movements are gonna be. Like it's not to the extent of you because I haven't had as much experience in it, um, but I'm kind of able to do that same thing.
Mm-hmm. It's just, it's like the little thing of going farther, or like thinking harder, and not. It's like thinking, was it playing smarter, not harder? So like I could do half as much, or like with a controller with my feet, and still beat you by just thinking a little more, instead of just what most people do is they just throw out their foot and then they make a simple move around it. What you're actually supposed to do is you gotta wait and think about where's their best option, where they're most likely to go, and then you go to that option. I think that's why soccer's so much fun, and that's why Smash is so much fun, and you can kind of
Thinking smarter and not harder is like kind of the same thing with in training in any sense, you know?
mm-hmm.
Like with this new club of at diving that I'm working with, ISD. So I'm actually in a club called ISD, and there's also this club called Ripfest, right? And they're kind of like not enemies, but they like compete against each other and like try to have the best divers and stuff. But I joined this ISD club when I had already had some experience with the Ripfest club. Um, but at ISD we have these papers that shows every single like type of dive that we can do during a practice, and our coach prescribes us dives to do that are in sync with what we're going to be learning throughout the next like foreseeable future. So right now I'm doing like these easy dives because it's the beginning of the season. So that I can do the harder dives later. And it's just like building on things and like doing the exact right movements in order to be ready for the bigger movements later.
I mean, yeah, but for diving, it's more about repetition,
Mm-hmm.
and it's not.
Repetition in the right order is what I'm saying.
Well, with the Smash and the soccer, is is that it's like you're against someone in diving.
Yeah. You're not against someone.
Yeah, no, you're definitely against someone. You're against
It's
yourself. It's how you're thinking at the time, your confidence. Diving's more against yourself, which is a hard battle because people struggle with themselves all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But with someone else, you can kind of force them to do what you want.
Yeah. I've always wanted to be in team sports again and like competitive against another person. It looks really fun to be able to be on like a team and work together for a win, instead of having it all on your shoulders. It's a lot of pressure.
It's a lot of pressure. Speaking earlier, like before, I probably do better in team sports because then I can kind of feed off their energy.
Yeah,
They can feed
yeah.
off my energy. And when by myself, let's just say performing, I, it's all myself. And if I'm not 100% prepared, then I just don't do as well. But that's why I do sports, is to is to be comfortable under pressure, because in life, being comfortable with the uncomfortable is very advantageous.
Yeah, very important.
Like, I think playing sports is important for development because it teaches you how to deal with uncomfortable situations.
For sure. There was a point in today's practice where I'm like, I don't want to do every rep of this warm up. And I'm not going to lie, I kind of fell into that a bit. I kind of skipped a few reps, which I don't usually do. And that was just a bad day. But you learn from the bad days as well as the good days.
You learn from the bad days, you learn from the good days, you learn from the struggles. I think that it's not about the practice, it's about the actual performing part is very vital, because that's when you're under the most pressure.
Yeah.
Like when, let's
You're
say,
on the spotlight.
you're at state for diving, and this dive is either you score points for your team or you get nothing. That's a lot of pressure on one person in one moment in time. And if you fail, then you're like, I can't fail again. So then you work harder. And further in life, let's say you have a business meeting or like a presentation, and if it goes well, you get the job, and if not, you don't. So, like, let's say when I have kids, they're definitely going to be doing something where it's only them, and it teaches them confidence, public speaking. It's just so advantageous, I think, to.
I saw this thing on TikTok, right? It was this mom who was having her daughter do daily affirmations while she was doing her hair.
What are affirmations?
Affirmations are like when you say, I am amazing, I'm going to be happy today, I'm going to be strong, I'm a proud person. And this little girl is probably going to grow up to be more body positive, more confident in herself, confident with whatever she does because her mom is instilling this into her at a young age. So, along with your parenting habits that you're going to be instilling, like this speech class, being confident, talking to people, and stuff like that, I think I'm also going to do something like the daily affirmations thing for my kids so that they can, if you instill it in them when they're young, it's not going to be cringy for them when they're older. Like right now, me saying like, I am amazing, I am strong, it shouldn't be, but it is kind of like cringy to me.
It's a cringy in a sense, but at soccer, our coach he's a psychologist. That's like his other job, and I think he does really well of not making you feel cringy in those moments because he has with the whole team. He's like, right now I want you guys to connect with yourself, and then you do that like that inner talk with yourself instead of saying it out loud, but the whole team is doing it, so you feel like I should do it, and it's not as cringy if you do like it's like a whole like group thing, you know how like monkey see monkey do.
Yeah,
but
I had that same kind of thing when I was at Rip Fest, the other camp that I was talking about. There was this coach who told us like a phrase we should say, like I'm going to be better than I was yesterday or something, and like I'm gonna be the best. And I was the only one who was saying it out loud, and I was saying it loud, and I felt so cringy for doing it. But that was an example of a good day of where I'm overcoming the anxiety of talking in front of people or saying I'm just not going to do it because everyone else isn't doing it.
Yeah. Another habit or like I think to help deal with like pressure and stuff, you know, let's say your parent cheers you on or like talks to you. Do you respond better to, I don't know, like positive reinforcement where you're like, you're doing so good, dude, keep up the good work? Or when you're like, let's say you're like not actually in, but your parents are trying to motivate you, or do you do better with, I don't want to say negative reinforcement, but I like to say realistic.
Maybe hostile.
It's not hostile. It's not hostile. I'm like, it's realistic. Like you need to do this better.
Look at the factors and see where you're going to go based on what you're doing right now.
Like my dad, he's not a very like keep up the good work. That's like a mom thing. I feel like, come on, Dom, keep going. My dad's like, you need to pass a little faster, and once you do that, then you can do this and this and this. And I'm like, all right. Or
I feel like if your mom was more versed on the topic, she'd be able to say stuff like that too.
Or instead of, or what my dad did when my sister was running cross country, or even when I was running cross country, he, instead of going, come on, Dom, keep it up, he would go, you need to run faster. You need to go. You're falling behind. Hustle. And I ran faster. I feel like if a kid keep going, I would have like kept the same pace. Yeah. I think I do better with negative reinforcement than positive reinforcement. I feel like in my mind, positive reinforcement is maybe it's a little cringy because I didn't grow up with that. I grew up with like the facts and being realistic, you know?
I work best when I am set on a plan and I follow the plan and I can see it through and I know everything about that plan.
Let's say the plan doesn't go according to plan. What would your parents tell you?
Probably just do. Okay, so my dad's thing is you can't do better than your best, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just try your best at what you're doing, and if it doesn't go well, we're not gonna be angry at you, or um, we're still gonna be proud of you for trying your best. Like, stay positive, stay in it, and try your best to do what it is you're trying to do, and you'll go somewhere with it.
You know, it's frustrating.
Hmm.
You know, your dad says try your best, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Sometimes you can put 110% effort into something, but it just doesn't end up the way you wanted it. Like, I've had bad days in soccer where I'm giving it all my effort, and then my touches aren't right, or I'm just not doing something right. And my dad's always like, sometimes you try your best and you just don't play well. And I'm like, that sucks, but it's a true.
I mean, yeah, it's 100% true. Like, when we're talking about this, I have stories that are running through my head of times that I'm like disappointed in myself because I'm trying my best and it's just not going well. I think the worst time that happened was when I was at the biggest meet of my life. It was a zone championship. And Olympian Tyler Downs was there. State champion from the year before, senior, going into college to Purdue. Sam Bennett, 1 meter state champion, was there, and a bunch of other people who were the best in six states were there. And I did my first dive. It was perfect. I was ecstatic. And then the second dive, I messed up worse than I had ever messed up on it. And it destroyed my mental. But I still tried my best to do the best dives I could. Every time I got on that board, even though my mental was destroyed because of all this humongous competition and what I had to do, I still got on the board and I tried to do the best dive I could. And it didn't go too well, honestly. But
that's happened to me before. Like,
yeah.
I didn't make state. I messed up one dive, and then it got in my head, and I tried to do the best I could, and then it just didn't work out. That just goes again to feeding in the pressure and trying to use it to your advantage, but sometimes it doesn't, like your adrenaline. But
I guess that goes into like, you win some, you lose some.
You do. You win some, you lose some. And I think that's a good ending point for today's podcast. It was a little weird podcast. This is definitely probably our weirdest podcast we've had.
I think we should not end yet. So when you said that, get rid of that. I think we should do it for another 15 minutes so that we have more time so I can cut out some things.
Nah, dude, I think this is a shorter podcast. I think we need to end the podcast, dude. We're on a roll.
I just caught my drift.
And then we should end on the high note. Dude, we bought low and we're selling high.
Alright, guys. So that was a bit of a shorter episode this week. It was definitely interesting. A learning experience, to say the least. A lot of deep stuff was going on. In the topics we were talking about, and also in the mental of creating a podcast.
We're learning along with making the podcast, and
a lot.
Sometimes you can overthink things, and it just makes it a lot harder to focus on what you should actually be focusing on. And we learned that today. And so continuing on, we'll continue to make things more, organic, as you like to say.
And hopefully it will be more entertaining.
So we'll catch you guys on the flip side. Stay organic.